Hello, Jessica. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. I am so excited to be on this episode with you, Lindsay.
I
I don't
know.
visit All Ears English very often.
I know. It's good to have you over here on the show. We don't get a chance to talk very much on the All Ears English podcast. So, guys, if you don't know, Jessica is over on the IELTS Energy podcast with Aubrey
hmm
2 days a week. Pretty awesome, isn't it, Jessica?
It is super awesome. And we know that you guys love Aubrey, so get more of Aubrey.
You got
Come
it.
listen to IELTS Energy. Okay.
Yes. Good stuff. Good
But
stuff.
guys, we're actually talking today about pronunciation, something that really does help your IELTS score, of course, but we know that all of you are worried about being understood, being clear. Nobody wants to speak English and the other person's like, "What? What?"
Yeah, no one wants that, right? I mean, how does that feel, Jessica, on an experiential level? You know, you've lived in Spain, you've lived in Mexico, I've lived in Argentina and Japan. And how does it feel when you pronounce something wrong and people look at you like you're strange?
It ends the conversation. Like
Yeah.
it can completely cut your confidence down and there's no opportunity for connection, right? So
Exactly.
let's do an example, okay?
Okay.
I want you to tell me, I want some feedback from you, okay? Do I sound like a native speaker when I say, I am comfortable with my family and always bring my camera?
First of all, it's a weird thing to say.
I
A weird phrase, but no, beyond just a strange thing to say, it also does not sound. Well, I don't really feel very comfortable with you, right? Because I can't quite understand exactly what you're trying to say. And no, it doesn't sound native and natural. Absolutely not.
know.
Yeah, no.
I know it's a weird sentence, you guys. I'm trying to teach you these three words that non-natives always mispronounce. And again, Lindsay, why is it so important to pay attention to the pronunciation?
Well, guys, English is tricky, right? Words are not always pronounced exactly as you think they are. And that's what we're going to get into a little bit today. It's so important so that you can be understood. It's like we have to get past this barrier of connection where we become disconnected if we don't pronounce
Right.
correctly. And then we have work to do on top of that. But that kind of opens the gates for you. Once people can understand you, guys,
Yes.
it opens the gates for actually getting the work done, whatever you're trying to do. Okay.
Exactly. That is the whole point of today, guys. So today's little mini lesson is really about some quite advanced pronunciation. We know that all of you guys are at least an intermediate level. We know, if not of an advanced level, right? And we really want you to fine tune, that's a great phrase, fine tune your accent.
Yes, I love that idea. To fine tune, what does that mean exactly, Jessica? Does that mean create a brand new accent or what does it mean?
That would be funny to completely sound like someone else. No, of course, we want you guys to sound like you want to sound when you are comfortable speaking English, when you have confidence. So, to fine tune something is to pinpoint these small mistakes that might be holding you back from sounding natural, right?
Yes.
And it's really
Yes.
hard to do that on your own. So, this is the point today, guys. These words, comfortable, family, camera, these are common words we say all the time, but we hear non-natives say them wrong.
Yeah, you got it, Jessica. I mean, so what can we do? I mean, are there any specific tools that we can use to really kind of master these, to stop making these mistakes that we hear our listeners, our students making mistakes on all the time?
Right? Yeah. So one way would be to hire a super expensive personal English coach that you could call at any time and say, "Am I saying this correctly? Can you correct my pronunciation?" But nobody's gonna do that. We don't want to do that. So, guys, we are very excited to talk to you about the ELSA app today because we've been playing with this app a lot.
Yes.
And we decided to partner with ELSA for a very short time to bring you a very special deal, right?
Yes, exactly, Jessica. And the reason we're on today is to let you know this deal is ending, right? This is going to be the end of this deal very soon. At the end of September, which is September 30th at midnight, this deal is no longer going to be available. I mean, what is the deal exactly, Jessica?
So, guys, this is unbelievable actually. You can get a lifetime membership to the ELSA Pro app. That's when you have all of the bells and whistles that come with this pronunciation app, guys. You will save $472.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
You never hear a deal like that. You will save $472 if you get into this app before September 20th at midnight.
Exactly. And now in the episode, we're going to go a little bit more into pronunciation, right, Jessica? A little bit more, talk about some more examples about how we could, some traps that we could potentially fall into. But before we go into it further today, guys, I want to make sure you know about this deal. You go right now to grab this deal, right? So go to allearsenglish.com/ELSA. So what else can we teach our listeners today about what is the word? I think it's called elision. What does that mean, Jessica?
Elision, exactly. So elision is when sounds disappear when we're speaking English. And not only is this vital for your personal pronunciation, right?
Yes.
So you sound more natural. So you make people comfortable and they want to talk to you.
Yes.
But it's also really important for listening. Because I find even on IELTS, right? These words that are spoken differently than people might read them can be difficult to understand because you're not expecting it if you don't know it. So this is called elision, guys. It's a feature of connected speech where some sounds disappear when we're speaking.
Oh, that's a good question, actually. Speaking of IELTS, Jessica, I mean, how many points do we lose on our pronunciation score if we don't get this right, this elision, right? Sounds disappearing. Or if we misunderstand it, obviously, our understanding suffers. But how could this affect our score on IELTS? Because I know a lot of our listeners are definitely taking IELTS and they might think about using ELSA to prepare their pronunciation for IELTS.
And you know what else? Like ELSA has specific IELTS lessons as well. So you can practice your speaking answers for IELTS with ELSA.
They do.
Because they have so many different topics and IELTS is just one of them.
For sure. Yes.
Your pronunciation score on IELTS, it could still be a 6, depending on a lot of other factors, but there's no way you could get a 7 on IELTS if you are mispronouncing a lot of these words, right?
Yes, and that's the key. So I know that so many of you guys are stuck at that 6, right? We hear it all the time. You need that 7 to immigrate, to go to that dream school, MIT, wherever you're trying to go. You need that 7. So this could be the difference, right? Right here, these pronunciation sounds, not doing it correctly, could mean the difference.
And it's the difference in confidence, not just for IELTS, but for business, right?
Yes.
Because you are carrying this helper in your pocket all the time.
Yeah, I love
so
that.
if you have like a presentation to give, or you have to speak at a meeting, or even if there's a question you want to ask at the meeting, and you're nervous because you're surrounded by natives, and then you end up just not asking it because you're scared. Don't do that. Like before the meeting, take 5 minutes, whip out the ELSA app, right?
Maybe step out of the room, right? Step out of the room.
Probably don't do that in the meeting around your coworkers, but it's a great like confidence booster.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go into some specific words again, Jessica, just to make sure our listeners have, 3 or 4 new things that they've learned today that they can take away, some specific words, where they know that we are going to encounter this elision, where the sounds are going to drop. Right.
So the 4 most common words that we use daily that are important to say correctly. The first one, which I hear mispronounced all the time, comfortable. We just, the O in the middle just magically disappears, right? Comfortable. And then family. Yeah. It's like that I in the middle disappears. I mean, do you ever hear anybody say family?
No, I don't. And it sounds so, like we said in the beginning of the episode, if you do that, it just doesn't sound natural. The tricky part about comfortable is if we take the word comfort, it sounds different, right? So this is where I think these elision-based pronunciation tricks can get really tricky, where we really just have to know them naturally. Because if I know the word comfort, but then I see that same word and I see able after, I would think it should be comfortable, right? But it's not. It's comfortable. So guys, there are real tricks here And Jessica, how, beyond using ELSA, what do we do to
Mm-hmm.
make sure we know the actual true pronunciation when we find a new word that has this dropping of sounds? Like, how do we know how do we get it?
Well, just by listening. I mean, the more
Yeah.
natural English you listen to, the more all ears English and IELTS energy that you're listening to, right?
Yeah.
You'll hear the words pronounced correctly over and over again,
Yep.
and you will remember them,
Yeah.
right? And that could take a long time, of course. It's hard work perfecting your English, and that's another little reason to get ELSA. It's this shortcut instead of
Yeah.
listening to English for years and years and years and eventually like knowing all the words. We have to work a little bit harder than
Yeah.
just listening all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mistake that a lot of our listeners might make is by reading all the time and considering that just
True.
reading and writing, and they don't ever really listen enough or they don't speak enough. So then they know these words. They know you guys know the word comfortable. You've seen it written, but you may not know
Right.
how it sounds or how you should produce it, right? That's the key.
And that happens to native speakers too. Have you ever done that where you say a word out loud for the first time, even as an adult, and it's only a word that like you've read in novels,
Yes.
and you say it wrong, and people are like,
Yes.
What?
Oh my gosh, can you think of any that like there's a few, they're not on the tip of my tongue. I can't quite get any examples right now, but there are a few. Are there any for you, Jessica, that you can think of right now that you don't actually really know how to pronounce?
I do have an example, and I might have said this on All Ears English a long time ago, or IELTS Energy. I'm not sure, but I mispronounced the word foliage for years.
Say foliage. I know.
I said foliage.
Oh, you said foliage.
That
Right, you
doesn't even
shared
make
this
sense.
with guys. If you go back and listen to All Ears English, the old episodes, we'll see that Jessica has revealed that to us. That's a good example. Foliage, right?
So
one
yeah.
yeah.
I know. The point is, I mean, it even happens to natives, right? So everybody needs help. Okay, so 4 examples, guys. Comfortable, family, as we already said. 2 more. Camera. That
Yep.
E in the middle disappears. And here's one that's not often found on lists, but it is very common today. Police.
What's changing about that? What changes about that word from how it's written to how it's spoken?
That O, that first vowel, O, disappears, right? We don't say, there are some accents that might say police,
Right.
which
Right.
that's different. That's a different dialect, right?
Yes.
But we don't talk like that. We say police.
Yeah, the police. It's kind of more of an sound, or it just disappears in a way. It just kind of blends into the L, right? The next consonant. I love it. The police, right? So the problem here, guys, if you are listening for police, you're never going to hear that. I think that is the biggest problem here with pronunciation is it comes down to listening. What are we actually listening for? And if the actual word comes by and someone says it in a native way, we miss it completely, right?
Oh, yeah, completely. Because your pronunciation and your listening ability are directly connected.
100%.
Every time I have a student that is having difficulty on the listening exam because they can't understand what they're hearing,
Yeah.
it often comes down to they're also not speaking English a lot, and their pronunciation is often very poor, right?
love
So
that.
if you can't say it correctly, it's very difficult to recognize it being said correctly. So as like just a little side bonus lesson, guys, I want to also quickly talk about contractions in spoken English, because this could also be classified as elision because 2 words are combining and many sounds are dropping off and disappearing.
Yeah.
Lindsay, do you notice this in informal English if you're talking to a student, just having a conversation? Do you notice if they're using contractions or not? Because I do.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel, you're saying that we shouldn't necessarily notice it because it should feel more natural. It shouldn't stand out to us as teachers.
No, I'm saying
What do you
that
mean?
I notice it when students are not using contractions
Not using
because
it. Okay.
it sounds too
yeah.
formal and like
yes.
stilted.
Stilted, formal, disjointed, not cohesive. For sure.
Exactly.
It breaks up the flow of what you're saying.
Exactly. Guys, we want to get as many words out as we can. That's why we shorten so many, right? Some common contractions I hear students not use enough for sure. And again, like these are these small things that make a big difference that an app like ELSA can can give you feedback on immediately, right? So contractions like will, I'll, I'd, like those are contractions I never hear students say. Like you might say can't and won't because we practice that a lot, but not these other ones like will, I'll.
Right. I remember when I was teaching English in Japan, I used to hear this a lot. Like asking, what are you doing this weekend? Right. Oh, I will go shopping in Shibuya.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Right.
That sounds so unnatural to say that. And such a small thing.
It's such a small thing, but it's these small things, guys, that can move us up to the 99% fluency level. And that's what we're striving for here at All Ears English, right? To sound native, natural, connect. Love it.
Exactly.
So important. Yeah, good point.
So finally, guys, we just want to remind you to check out this ELSA Pro app, guys. You have to get this before September 30th at midnight. The deal goes away at that time. And again, saving $472. That's incredible for a lifetime membership of the ELSA Pro app.
Yeah, lifetime for ELSA Pro. So again, this gives you access to what we talked about before, the full business lessons, the full IELTS lessons, pretty much everything on the app you get with ELSA Pro for the lifetime, right? Yeah. Lifetime access to save $472. But again, that savings, guys, will go away September 30th at midnight. Jessica, any final points you want to let our listeners know about before we hop off the mic today?
Yes, where they can go. allearsenglish.com. allearsenglish.com/ELSA. You guys go and grab that. Check it out.
Good call. allearsenglish.com/ELSA. Guys, go there. Go straight there right now and jump on this deal before it goes away. Good stuff, Jessica. Thanks for hanging out. Good to be back on the mic with you again, and I'll talk to you very soon.
All right, sounds good. Bye,
All right,
Lindsay.
take care. Bye.